This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
I don't know if this sends a message. It doesn't make any difference if it does or not. North Korea is a problem. The problem will be taken care of.
Tensions flare between the U.S. and North Korea as Pyongyang vowing a, quote, a merciless response to any provocation. This after our military drops the largest non-nuclear bomb ever used in combat on ISIS fighters in Afghanistan. Another show of force in the wake of a missile strike in Syria. All of this as President Trump announces Russian relations may be at an all-time low. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on U.S. foreign policy coming up, but first, our top 7 stories at 7, and we begin in Sarasota County, where an appeals court judge is making a big ruling in a lawsuit to reopen Beach Road. The case focuses on the decision by Sarasota County commissioners to relinquish ownership of this road, which was closed for years and is frequently inundated with sand. The plaintiff, Mike Consentino, argues commissioners violated their own comprehensive plan with the decision. Following a motion by 2 of the property owners involved in the case, the judge is ruling he will not allow the comprehensive plan to be admitted as evidence. Consentino is expected to appeal the ruling, and we'll have more coming up tonight at 11. Now to Palmetto, where police and the fire marshal are searching for an arsonist. The suspect set fire to Auto Dealer Solutions on 8th Avenue this morning. The fire destroyed a building which was formerly a historic church. The dealership was using it as a storage facility. Investigators say the fire may have been set intentionally to cover a break-in.
We're not sure at this point why. There are also some indications that the person or persons responsible for this tried to get into other areas on this property, this business.
Police say DNA evidence was left behind, which may belong to the arsonist. The former church was a total loss. The deadline to file your taxes is on Tuesday, and the United Way offers filing assistance for those who can't afford it. They also keep track of the families living paycheck to paycheck on the Suncoast. Today, the nonprofit is issuing what it calls the ALICE report. ALICE stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained and Employed. In other words, the working poor. According to the report, the percentage of households living below a so-called survival budget has dropped in recent years. In Manatee County, 31%, in Sarasota, 25%.
The Alice families are the working families in our community that still struggle to make it. We really talk about that income is what you need every day to be able to make it, but assets is how you get ahead in life.
A panel was held today in conjunction with the release of the report. The president of State College of Florida is speaking out against a plan by state lawmakers to cut millions of dollars in funding. The school's president says it could force her to cut valuable degree programs. A Senate proposal would cut $1.5 million to the school annually. The House proposal would cut more than $4 million. In the past decade, SCF has seen a double-digit percentage rise in enrollment. An emergency room doctor in Sarasota County is launching a new service to make house calls. It is called ER2U. The founder says she is starting it to serve patients who call ambulances because they can't drive. The service brings emergency room resources right to a patient's home. Those with true emergencies are still urged to call 911. Now the Longboat Key, where dozens of protective mangroves are dying. It's happening on the north end of the Key in an area known as Beer Can Island. Some environmentalists suspect beach erosion is to blame.
It's like one of the critical ecosystems of the Gulf. Without the mangrove fringe, the Gulf ecosystem could conceivably collapse.
People think a beach is just sand and water, but the really important parts are the sand dunes and the mangroves that hold everything together. And if we let those go, there'll be more flooding and more damage over time.
Longboat Key is considering adding a groin or a jetty to limit beach erosion. The move could help protect the mangroves. An observant charter boat captain spotted something unusual today. Captain Mark Bailey with Double Marker Charters was about 12 miles out when he spotted a large turtle near the surface. He quickly noticed something was wrong when the turtle didn't swim away. Moat Marine Lab responded and is caring for the turtle at their facility. And Bob, you are big into to fishing, and it's nice to know our local captains are looking out for the turtles.
Yeah, they're good stewards out there in the Gulf of Mexico and the Bay, and they help out not only the marine life, but people who are in trouble as well out there in the Gulf of Mexico. So they're always nice to have around. They know the waters quite well. We are looking at nice water conditions near the coast. Offshore, a little rough going, but with an east wind, it keeps things a bit calmer right near the beaches, and you can see that from the Casey Key webcam looking off. And you see once in a while some darker clouds off there in the Gulf, and that's associated with a little bit of a sea breeze getting pinned right near the coast with that east wind, though. Look at the humidity. That's dangerous, 31%, and with an east wind at 11, the dew point low at 49, temperature still 82 degrees, and the pressure way up there 30-11. There have been some fires up into Hillsborough County today. Not many here along the Sun Coast. We've had, just as I said, a brief shower here or there. Again, a little bit of rainfall across parts of the west central Florida. You can see some of the high clouds streaming in our direction from the Gulf of Mexico. The storms themselves are out there in the central Gulf, and we could use that rainfall, the brighter white tops indicating where the storms are, and then we're getting some of the roll-off with that west to east wind overhead. Temperatures right now in the mid-70s in Jacksonville, 79 in Miami, 78 in Key West, the same in Orlando. A bit warmer in Mayaca City and Lakewood Ranch at 83, 85 in Palmetto, 79 in Manasota Beach. Longville Key, you're at 81 degrees, and Sebring, 79. The evening planner looks good. Just a few clouds and 69 by 11 o'clock, and it looks to be a good weekend, too. Lots of sunshine out there.
All right, thanks a lot, Bob. And still to come, bombarded, the U.S. drops the mother of all bombs a week after raining cruise missiles on a Syrian airbase. This comes as the U.S. is bolstering its presence near North Korea. How is the nuclear nation responding? We'll have the latest on the situations when we return.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right, we will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call for your free author submission kit at 800-425-5308.
Are you Goodwill?
Yes, because when I donate
or shop at Goodwill,
I'm creating a job.
I am Goodwill, yeah, yeah.
Is your old garage door stuck or broken? Would a new one give you a lift? Let Precision Door Overhead Garage Door Service of Sarasota come to the rescue with prompt and affordable repair service. Replacement doors come with an array of styles and colors, and they are rated to meet and exceed Florida standards. From estimates to installation, your satisfaction is our priority. If you're not 100% satisfied with any product, service, or installation, we will make it right, because Precision Door Service is a name you can trust.
I heard about the Dotoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Dotoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was and some additional cancers that were not found during the biopsy. I would recommend the Dotoli Cancer Center. As a group of human beings, they are unbelievably great.
New satellite images show a North Korean nuclear site primed and ready for a test that could come this weekend. President Trump has called North Korea a problem that is looking for trouble, as some are now asking what message the massive bombing in Afghanistan is sending. ABC's Janae Norman is tracking the latest in Washington.
All eyes on the Pacific ahead of an anticipated nuclear weapons test in North Korea.
North Korea is a problem. The problem will be taken care of.
With global tensions already flaring, President Trump's tweets calling North Korea a problem and a menace that's looking for trouble may only be adding fuel to the fire. North Korea's vice foreign minister said Washington has become more vicious and more aggressive since Trump took office. All of this as satellite images show a North Korean nuclear test site primed and ready.
North Korea's got to change its behavior.
Ahead of that test that could come this weekend, questions over what message dropping that massive bomb in eastern Afghanistan sends to North Korea. That massive ordnance air blast, nicknamed the mother of all bombs, weighs 22,000 pounds and is the largest non-nuclear bomb the U.S. has ever dropped in combat, part of the ongoing fight against ISIS.
We will remove the sanctuary in Afghanistan so that fighters may not flow from Syria to Afghanistan. This weapon was the appropriate weapon to use against this target, and prior to this, we didn't have such a target.
Former Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad questioning that on Twitter, asking, is the person that drops the world's largest bomb on Afghanistan a bearer of peace or a demon? It doesn't appear President Trump took any senior staff with him to Mar-a-Lago. ABC News asked which military advisors would accompany Trump on the trip to keep him informed over the weekend, but the White House wouldn't provide any details. Janae Norman, ABC News, Washington.
The rising tension with North Korea comes the same week President Trump says Russian relations may be at a new low. What does this mean for our foreign policy? We'll have analysis from both political parties and a leading expert on Russia in a moment. We take it, yes, to the trapezoid.
If you're only hungry for a slice of apple pie, why buy the whole pie? And you certainly wouldn't want to pay for an all-you-can-eat buffet. So if you don't use your cell phone that much, why get charged for a plan that's too big, or even an unlimited plan? Luckily, there's still a wireless company that shares your values. Welcome to Consumer Cellular. Our average customer pays about $25 a month for everything they need. Many pay even less, as plans start at just $10 a month. You'll get a straightforward bill that's easy to understand with no surprises and all the attention you deserve from our friendly customer service team. No wonder Consumer Cellular received a J.D. Power Award for highest customer service. Plus, if you're an AARP member, you'll receive special discounts. It's easy to switch. You can even keep your phone and your number. So stop paying for more than you need and switch now. For a limited time, get your first month of service free. Call 800-457-2317, go online, or visit a Target store today.
This is an important medical announcement. Xarelto and Pradaxa have been linked to uncontrollable bleeding and even death. If you've been prescribed one of these drugs and have experienced these dangerous side effects, you may be entitled to substantial compensation. Studies show that Pradaxa can cause more heart attacks than warfarin, and other countries have already issued safety warnings against this drug. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. The call is confidential, there's no cost, and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to Pradaxa victims, and thousands of Xarelto victims are filing their legal cases. Call the Drug Watch hotline. If you or a loved one used Xarelto or Pradaxa and experienced uncontrollable bleeding, brain hemorrhage, or even death, you must call now.
Call 800-793-6055. 800-793-6055.
They're coming from Tampa, Fort Myers, even Orlando. They're coming from everywhere for the Sarasota Ford Promise. Our promise means a new car you'll love. If not, return it for one you do. At Sarasota Ford, we promise live market pricing. We monitor national pricing on our entire inventory, so you get the best deal. In fact, we guarantee it. Bring us any competitor's ad, and we'll beat it by at least $1,000. That's why they're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, where 41 meets 301. SarasotaFord.com.
Welcome back. After 12 weeks, President Trump has little to show when it comes to legislative accomplishments, but he is flexing his military muscle. North Korea is vowing, quote, a merciless response to U.S. provocations. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson was in Moscow this week meeting with Russian leaders. President Trump says relations with Russia may be at an all-time low following missile strikes on Syrian Air Force Base, and the U.S. has been at war in Afghanistan since 2001. Yesterday, the U.S. dropped the largest non-nuclear bomb ever used in combat on an ISIS tunnel network in Nangarhar province. I hope I said that right. The aggressive moves quite a contrast to what President Trump called for on the campaign trail. And here with analysis of the week in U.S. foreign policy is Christian Ziegler, Republican State Committee man for Sarasota County, Keith Fitzgerald, a professor of political science at New College of Florida and a former Democratic member of the Florida House, and Dr. Robert Beliski, the president of the Sarasota Institute for Lifelong Learning. He is a leading expert in Russian civil and military possible, and we are thrilled to have you, because there's so much to discuss about Russia, both in terms of what is happening this week and then also some of our domestic politics. Doctor, what is your take in terms of the back and forth because of the Syrian air strikes between Russia right now? Is it, as the president is saying, that Russian-U.S. relations are at the lowest levels ever?
No, they're not.
Okay.
I mean, they were worse when the Ukrainian crisis was at its high point, when Putin was taking over Crimea and they were doing the rebellions in eastern Ukraine, and we were sending battleships towards Russian cities in the Black Sea that were loaded with missiles. That's when they were really tense, and then after that, lots of military maneuvers.
I also remember something called the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Well, that was a long time ago.
Right.
But
so what do you think all this rhetoric is about?
I think
it's a loaded question.
Yeah, well, on both sides, there are political reasons. We have the domestic ones, that is, Trump wants to overcome the whole story that he's some kind of a Putin stooge, and that's pretty much gone right now, right? Out of the headlines.
We'll ask Keith and Christian about that.
Yeah, and Putin, you know, he enjoys being the guy who stands up to the big bad West. That's part of his whole persona.
Keith, so does the events of this week basically take care of all that talk about Trump being a Putin, patsy?
Well, no. I think that Professor Borilski's point is it takes it out of the headlines immediately, and in some respects, the public sphere, what we have of it today, has the attention span of my golden retriever. You know, it's like what's happening right now, and it's off the headlines right now, but it may be back next week if indictments come. I don't think anybody really knows where that's going. It doesn't solve the problem for him, and I'm not sure if that's really the motivation of this. One of the speculations of the week is that President Trump is simply learning how the world works, and he honestly didn't know much about it before. And so this naive view that we could be buddies with the Russians is falling apart, because he's starting to appreciate, no, we have real differences with the Russians, and maybe we can't ever be friends, so to speak. And this is showing up all over the place. But he's just sort of learning about things and how the world works.
Christian, what do you think?
Well, I think it's less about learning, and I think it's more about Donald Trump being a businessman. And when you get in business, the way it works is you give the individual the benefit of the doubt, and then you start seeing how negotiations play out or how your interactions play out, and then you adjust on the fly. So from Donald Trump, when he campaigned on America First, more of an isolationist foreign policy, but he also campaigned on a strong military and a strong America. So I think what you saw in Syria, by going in there after the chemical weapons use, really set the tone. He drops that bomb the other day, and that sets another message to North Korea, and I think that's what we need.
You set up two things there that I wanted to talk about. One, as you said, the president campaigned on a platform of America First and more of an isolationist. We both can't say it. But let me throw some of the president's own statements at you. I think NATO may be obsolete. And then this month, I said it was obsolete. It's no longer obsolete. When it comes to China currency manipulation, they're devaluing their currency to a level that you wouldn't believe. It makes it impossible for our companies to compete. This week, there was no currency manipulation. Syria. Syria is not our problem. Do not attack Syria. Fix USA. Tonight I ordered the military strike on airfield in Syria. Part of the conversation that you hear this week is, geez, there have been so many things here that have been, totally opposite than what he campaigned on.
Well, okay, but when you look at this, like NATO, for example, he says NATO's obsolete. They need to start paying their fair share. They come out, they say they're going to pay their fair share. Now he adjusts his policy on NATO, right? China, he's frustrated with China. He campaigned hard against China. And now, obviously, we had the visit from China, and it looks like China is helping with the North Korea deal. So again, Donald Trump, I think what you're seeing is typical negotiation, is you come out with a position, you come out with a statement, and then you adjust based on the negotiation, and you try to get something from someone, and then you give something.
Either they were manipulating their currency or they weren't.
Well, yeah, and that's just so crazy naive, in all due respect. I mean, that's crazy naive.
That's how business works.
Well, but it's not how world politics works. I'm sorry, business and world politics are two different things. Russia and the United States have had relations going back for decades and decades, back to the Soviet Union. You don't change things overnight because you had a conversation. Same thing with China. Same thing with NATO. The Baltic states, for example, took those statements about NATO being obsolete as incredibly significant because their national security is totally dependent on that. That wasn't just some ploy to get
the way foreign policy works is you develop relationships and you leverage those relationships, and that's exactly what Donald Trump did.
We have less than a minute left in this segment, but Professor, I wanted to ask you one more question because there was so much talk about how the president never said anything unkind about Putin and Russia. Now we have this. You are an astute observer of the Russian media and so forth. Did the Russians think that they were going to have smooth sailing?
Well, I watched lots of Russian talk shows, particularly the main channels.
RTV, right?
Yeah, on Russian TV, that the Russians see, the same shows the Russians see. And they were kind of bemused and baffled by this when it started.
Well, so are we.
Yeah, and the more conservative type said, well, we're hearing this rhetoric, but American policy doesn't change that much from president to president, and that we shouldn't expect any radical changes over here. Where others were generally happy to hear what he was saying, but the bottom line from the establishment was don't expect any big change.
Okay, we are just getting started. We'll pick up the discussion after a check on our weather.
Our community has its struggles. The fact is, people have less than they did just a few years ago, and sadly, the need becomes more profound every day. Season of Sharing provides funds to help individuals and families in need, ensuring they will not end up homeless and without a roof over their heads. Together, providing a helping hand and making a difference. Season of Sharing. Give today at cfsarasota.org.
Is your mop a dirty, disgusting mess? You need the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System, the only mop and bucket that spins the dirt away. A system that cleans practically anything and everything with super absorbent microfiber. Dip it in the washer side and the mess releases into the bucket. Then place it in the dryer side and push on the pedal. You get a clean mop pad that's practically dry and ready for more. And your hands will never again touch a dirty, disgusting mop. The heads are washable and reusable. Get the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System for just 2 payments of $19.99. You'll also get a Sticky Buddy, the reusable sticky roller that picks up pet hair and lint and washes clean in seconds. You can take advantage of our 2-for-1 Pick It Up special and get a second spin mop set. Just pay additional shipping and fee. And we'll upgrade you to free priority handling. So don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-394-1524 to get your Hurricane Spin Mop double offer. So hurry and call 1-800-394-1524. Call now.
Whether a family member needs a little extra help around the house, assistance recovering from a hospital stay, or someone to check in on them throughout the week, Right at Home's in-home care is the answer. Your loved one deserves the right care, and now we need caregivers to help give the right care for the right reasons, the right way. At Right at Home, we're one of the only private home health agencies in this area with the opportunity to earn paid time off. If you're someone who loves helping people, take a look at our website and click on Jobs to join our team today.
Our discussion of U.S. foreign policy continues in a moment, but right now let's get a check on our forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. A beautiful evening as the sun getting ready to set here. The Van Wezel webcam showing pretty nice conditions throughout the afternoon and a few clouds and a strong easterly wind never allowed that west coast sea breeze to get inland. It just kind of pinned right near the coast. It did produce a few brief showers, but not much. Weather headlines, warm weekend ahead, near record highs. Today's highs were in the upper 80s to near 90 degrees. And finally, a little bit of a chance for some rainfall next week on into Thursday and Friday. The rain chances not all that high, but much higher than they have been as we look at that later. Now, some rain along the east coast with that easterly fetch moving all the way over to the west coast. Some high cloudiness out here in the Gulf of Mexico. What's happening is we have a little disturbance out there, and the storms are developing, reaching the upper reaches of the atmosphere, say 40 to 50,000 feet, and then the strong winds carrying some of the high cirrus clouds closer to the coast here. But we're not looking at any rainfall here from that system as we see these high cirrus clouds composed of ice crystals moving overhead. Now, 82 degrees currently the dew point, really low, 49. That's due to that easterly wind at 11 miles an hour and the humidity 31%. That puts us in a high fire risk right now as a result of that low humidity. And the high today, well, 88 degrees, our normal high at 80, the record 94. And that was, again, 94 degrees. So we were a little bit away from that. The low this morning was 61, right at the average. No rainfall report. The deficit now for the year, 7 inches below average. One of the driest on record as far as the winter and early spring is concerned. Temperatures for highs tomorrow will be into the mid 80s as we look at just a few clouds in the afternoon. Should be a great weather weekend for weekend weather. Beaches look to be really quite nice. A moderate chop to start the day off. It'll lessen somewhat in the late morning, early afternoon. There'll be a lot of boating going on over the weekend, and the water temperature at 75 degrees. UV index will be high tomorrow, 10, and same goes for Sunday. Low tide upcoming 10:26, and a high tide will be at 4:23 into tomorrow morning. Partly cloudy, some clearing late tonight after midnight, low of 63, and then for tomorrow, mostly sunny, mild, 85 degrees, actually warm, and upper 80s inland. The extended forecast does call for that chance for showers on Wednesday, and then a better chance come Thursday and Friday of next week. High temperatures staying in the low to mid 80s, and low temperatures into the mid 60s through next week. Alan will be back with his guests right after this. Stick around.
Don't miss Southwest Florida's largest barbecue and bluegrass event, Friday, April 14th and Saturday, April 15th, when the 8th annual Suncoast Barbecue and Bluegrass Bash returns to Venice. Bring the whole family and enjoy genuine competition barbecue and award-winning bluegrass entertainment. Please join us for a finger-licking and hot-picking good time, April 14th and 15th at the Suncoast Barbecue and Bluegrass Bash. Free admission, parking, entertainment, and family activities. Get all the details at suncoastbarbecuebash.com.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help. And the Affordable Care Act guarantees coverage of substance abuse. Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment.
I had problems just getting to sleep, drinking and using pills every night.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Are you losing hope? You can recover and get back on track. Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I have something to hold on to for strength. I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares.
Call 1-800-764-8708. That's 1-800-764-8708.
The official salon of ABC7. Cutting Loose Salon.
Are you considering joint replacement or revision surgery? Consider this. Dr. Edward Stolarski has performed thousands of successful joint replacement procedures and trained surgeons from all over the world. Using advanced technologies, Dr. Stolarski is able to perform some of the most complex surgeries.
I wish I knew about Dr. Stolarski much sooner.
After the surgery, I don't have any pain. It's like I've got a 16-year-old hip.
My name's Ed Stolarski. What I really do is I give people back their life.
Schedule a consultation today.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing military action by the Trump administration, rhetoric between the U.S. and North Korea, and becoming increasingly combative. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson says relations with Russia are at a new low, and the U.S. dropped the mother of all bombs in Afghanistan. Our guests tonight are Republican State Committee man Christian Ziegler, Professor of Political Science Keith Fitzgerald, and Russian policy expert Dr. Robert Polisky. And Doctor, let me start again with you, because we've been talking about the U.S. relationship with Russia. You say the Syrian airstrikes did not work for Vladimir Putin at home.
No, they really were a disaster for Putin, because for the last couple of years he's been going around boasting that I have stood up to America. I'm running Syrian policy now. You can't decide anything here without me. The bomb landed and it was, hey, wake up call, America's here. So not only that, but at home they said, well, what's your plan in Syria after all? He's stuck there too.
Right. So his 95% approval rating is down a little bit.
Might be down a little. It doesn't matter what that rating is, but he doesn't really have a plan to get out of there.
I'm interested in what your take is on the investigation into Russian interference in the U.S. election and the congressional investigations, because even this week, there was a story just the other day that it was foreign intelligence services that alerted the CIA and the FBI that they were, during the campaign, they were hearing chatter, they were picking up, allegedly Russian intelligence officers dealing with the members of the Trump campaign. How unusual is this?
Well, I wonder what we knew and what we didn't know, first of all, because we have the best monitoring and intelligence service in the world. So we don't like to talk about what we know in public. So I'm a little bit of a skeptic about some of these stories.
Let me go at it this way. There have been so many stories about Carter Page, the Trump advisor, and whether or not the business dealings he may or may not have been offered, and also Paul Manafort, who has made millions dealing with Putin allies. In and of itself, in terms of people with political connections in the U.S. on both sides of the aisle, is that unusual?
Well, I see it in the context of thousands of American expats in Moscow doing business. Every major bank has Moscow branches. Companies are over there. There's so many people doing business, offering consulting services, lobbying for Russian businesses in this country, etc. So if you put it in this big context, it doesn't look as wild or as strange. There's just an awful lot going on.
Christian, there was so much going on this past week with Syria and Afghanistan, North Korea, but this story is not going away. It's the old drip, drip, drip that as long as there are investigations, you're going to have stories.
Yeah, I find it somewhat humorous that one week members of the left want to talk about the fact that Donald Trump and Putin are best friends and they're working together to undermine our election process. And then the next week, the left starts complaining that Donald Trump and Putin's relationship's putting us at risk because they're not getting along enough. I think what we're seeing here is when we saw the November results, the Democratic Party, they wanted to blame something on their loss. They focused on this Russia thing. The media loves it. The media keeps it in the headlines. Carter Page, he was not a very...
It's not the media keeping it in the headlines. It's our revelations that are keeping it in the headlines.
Well, there aren't many revelations that have come out. There's no proof. There's no proof that's actually come out. And you talk about Carter Page, an advisor, everyone says senior advisor. He didn't even have that big of a role in the Trump administration or during the Trump campaign. Well, so it's really the media and the left that's keeping it active.
It was the FBI director.
This is an effort.
Hold on. It was the FBI director says they were not just investigating contacts between Russian intelligence and the Trump campaign, but possible coordination.
But nothing has come out. There's no proof that's come out, but the media and the left's focused on it with one goal in mind, and that's to undermine Donald Trump's presidency.
So, Keith, where is the proof?
Well, first of all, Christian's favorite technique is the straw man. He attributes arguments to the left. I don't know where he's getting the idea that people on the left are upset that we're having tense relations with Russia. My position, at least, has been consistent throughout. On the other hand, the investigation at this point, if you listen to what's coming out on the Hill, there are certainly members in both parties who are very much concerned about what they're finding out. Now, it's one thing whether or not this will lead to an impeachment or resignation. That's an issue over here. I don't know of any direct lines at this point that point right back to Donald Trump himself. On the other hand, this is a global pattern that the Russians have engaged in. They're inserted themselves in the current French election, for example. So I think everybody who's sober about these things has some concern about this, and it's really just a new frontier. To be honest, the United States has done similar things of playing in elections through leaks and that sort of thing. And this is a new sphere of international conflict that we are all going to have to adjust to.
All right, there are at least two other areas I want to get into. One of it, which is a comment by the new chairwoman of the Republican National Committee, Ronna Romney McDaniel, who this week said, "It is hard to win if you don't govern. If you make these promises, it's going to be hard for us to win in the midterms." Christian, one could argue that the strikes in Syria and Afghanistan make the president look real good this past week, but we're closing in 100 days, and there really has not been much in terms of legislative victories, aside from putting Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. So to all those people who are watching this now, good Trump supporters who are wondering, where is tax reform, where is a new health care bill, what's the answer?
Okay, tax reform and the health care bill, they're coming down the pipe, right? They've talked about that they're going to be bringing up the health care bill again. Tax reform, they've already started looking at. I know the Ways and Means Committee has been looking at it. But I will tell you that, you know, it's somewhat, there's a fascination that nothing has occurred in the first 100 days. Let's look at Trump's record. Keystone Pipeline, Dakota Pipeline, that was talked about for years. There was no action. Instituted those are being built. Talk about immigration, he's looking at the wall, he's starting to build the wall, and he also ended catch and release this week. No one's talking about that, but he's instituting things that on the campaign trail he promised. Supreme Court justice, that'll affect us more than any presidency for decades to come. He got him on the court.
I'm getting 1 minute. There's one other thing I wanted to get to, and that's golf. I mean, how many times did you hear Trump bang Obama on his golf outings? And the president is down here, and we love the president in Florida, but every single week the bill is racking up. And for all those people who criticize President Obama for his occasional golf trips and vacations, what do folks like you say?
I'm one that, you know, you look at Trump, he's an outsider, he's not an insider, he's not a Washington guy, he's trying to get out of Washington, he goes down to Mar-a-Lago, you know, should he go that many times? I don't know. I mean, that's kind of,
so it was okay for him,
happens.
but not for President Obama.
I'm not saying that. I mean, I didn't oppose President Obama playing golf, right? But you know, it's still, again, it's still early. He's still trying to get his team on the field. Democrats are holding up in the Senate a lot of his appointees. I was up in D.C. meeting with a lot of the federal agencies. None of them are filled. It's difficult. You have the top guy that just got filled, all the middle. So it's hard to run a government when you don't have your team on the field.
All right,
there's no team.
Yeah.
What's that?
Same in foreign policy. The Russians say this. We don't know what we're going to be able to do with Tillerson. They love Tillerson. They think he's great, but he doesn't have a team.
But that's getting held up in the Senate.
Let's take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, plus what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, regulating charter schools. Stay with us.
Enjoy some of the best Suncoast restaurants on me. Just go to mysuncoast.com/dining, sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already, and you can win a $50 gift card to a restaurant in our area. We'll pick a winner each week, so go on our website and sign up now.
Our community has its struggles. The fact is, people have less than they did just a few years ago, and sadly, the need becomes more profound every day. Season of Sharing provides funds to help individuals and families in need, ensuring they will not end up homeless and without a roof over their heads. Together, providing a helping hand and making a difference. Season of Sharing. Give today at cfsarasota.org.
Let me introduce you to the ultimate Florida window. Do you feel safer with this or this? You'll be proud too.
This Saturday only, save 40% off factory direct windows. Bring in your measurements for on-the-spot pricing.
It's no small wonder anybody loves it all.
I just love art that moves me.
No small,
I mean, really moves me.
one.
Sunset Fiat of Sarasota presents No Small Wonder. High performance style. Let the art of Fiat move you.
Welcome back. During the campaign, President Trump ran on an isolationist message. Now tensions are nearing a boiling point on the Korean peninsula. Russian relations are at a new low following a missile strike on Syria, and the U.S. dropped the biggest non-nuclear bomb ever used in combat. What can this week tell us about foreign policy and what's to come? Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. We didn't talk about North Korea.
Yeah.
How concerned
I'll make
are
a few points here, right? Russia's
Sure.
not as bad as anyone's saying, and the Russians aren't as concerned about us as people think they are. The Asian situation is the tricky one. It looks to me as if China and the United States are giving a signal to people in North Korea to overthrow the leader. That's what I think's going on. If we do any strikes on North Korea, it could be a complete disaster because he is unstable.
Keith,
he can destroy Seoul in a matter of half an hour.
So let's stay with this for the time we have left, because going back to the Obama administration, the Bush administration, the Clinton administration before that, it's been this ebb and flow. Are we reaching a changing point where we finally get rid of this maniac?
Well, sometimes in foreign policy there are not many good options, and this has been the situation with North Korea for a very long time, and it certainly goes back to not just the second Bush administration, but the first one, and even before that. It's not easy options. On the other hand, this idea that we might be signaling them, signaling the domestic forces to overthrow the guy, is a very concerning thing. I mean, I think we all ought to be a little bit nervous about that, because this guy is an erratic, impulsive person.
Best case scenario, Christian?
Well, I think what you've seen with Trump is, he went into Syria when people didn't think he would. He took action, so it showed he was going to take action. He just dropped that big bomb. It shows that we got the firepower behind it. But then what's interesting is he's working with China on the back end, and China's they're their only trade partner, and they're the most vital piece of this. And it looks like they're coming in, they're sending that signal. I do agree with both Keith and the professor over there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. It's a very dangerous situation because obviously he does have nuclear weapons. You have the capital of South Korea so close to that border that they could rain artillery on. This is something we need to watch, and Donald Trump's going to be strong, I think, and that's exactly what we need.
All right. Before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, charter school regulation. The state's attorney's office is investigating after the Island Village Montessori school allegedly violated Florida's Sunshine Law. Charter schools receive taxpayer dollars but have more autonomy than public schools. Sarasota School Board isn't taking action on the matter, and we ask what you think about the situation and charter schools. Meredith Cleveland writes, "We love Island Village Montessori School. Families love this school because the Bucks were not happy with the rule change and questioned it in a bullying fashion." Gene Buck responds to that by saying the school did not like us questioning the new policy and several other issues and discrepancies. We were not the only ones who were upset by what was going on. And Rob Albritton writes, sounds like this power trip is going to cost the school and Sarasota County a lot of hard-earned taxpayer dollars. Well, let us know what you think about U.S. foreign policy under President Trump. Join the conversation at our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And FYI, you can watch past roundtable discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Thanks to our guests for being here tonight. Christian Ziegler is State Committee Man for the Republican Party of Sarasota County. Keith Fitzgerald is a professor of political science at New College of Florida. He was also a Democratic representative in the Florida House. And Dr. Robert Beliski is president of the Sarasota Institute for Lifetime Learning, and he is a leading expert on Russian military relations. When we return, we'll have a final look at your weather. Plus, running like a jackrabbit, Senator Bill Nelson is already gearing up for a tough re-election race against the governor. The details in our primetime headlines.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get Debt-Free Now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-628-1251, 800-628-1251.
So many times we underestimate the human spirit's drive to recover. We often see people surpass what any of us might have expected initially. The Rehabilitation Pavilion at Sarasota Memorial is the top of the line. It allows us to really bring the patient's recovery to the next level.
Why settle for less? Get more for your money at Sunset Subaru in Sarasota. Subaru is rated the #1 car brand in safety, and all Subaru models with EyeSight are a 2017 IIHS Top Safety Pick. And you can lease the most award-winning small SUV, a new Subaru Forester, for just $209 a month. Or get 0% financing with complimentary maintenance included. Get more for your money. Go to Sunset Subaru in Sarasota.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in a moment, but right now let's get a final check on our weekend weather forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Thanks, Alan. I tell you, we are looking at the high pollen count across the region. Trees are running high right now, and they'll stay high, too, over the weekend. We're forecasting a 10 tomorrow. Top allergens, oak, bayberry, again, right there. And you can see some clouds off in the Gulf of Mexico. Those clouds really not doing much as far as bringing rain here. We're getting some of the high-level cirrus blow-off. Moving in from the west to the east across our region. Well, the radar picture not showing much rainfall for us. A few isolated showers along the east coast. Not much going on here. Current temps, right now Braden not reporting, but generally into the upper 70s there. 82 degrees in Sarasota, and Venice now at 76 degrees. Wind flow will be out of the east and northeast. Looks like throughout the day on Saturday, not much of a sea breeze developing at all throughout the day, and looks like we will see the possibility of 1 or 2 lone showers in the afternoon. Well, the radar picture, the forecast radar picture, not showing any rainfall for us. Another beautiful day expected for tomorrow, with high temperatures warming up into the upper 80s in some cases, and it looks as though we will see, as I said, just a slight chance for an isolated shower or two as we move on in through the day. Well, the satellite and radar picture showing basically fair skies over the northeast, some showers into Missouri and Iowa, as well as into Illinois. And again, that's where the main weather is. And it's not much. There's a few showers there, but all in all, the shower activity is not all that strong. Out west, there are some showers in Washington, Oregon, and into California. That rain, though, is still very light at this time. Temperatures around the United States into the 40s, I should say 50s and 60s over much of the Canada area, as well as into, I should say, Toronto, 61 in Detroit, and right now the forecast for boaters looks like this. East winds at 15 knots, subsiding 5 to 10 late in the afternoon. Seas running 2 to 3 feet with a moderate chop out there, and the water temperature now at 75 degrees. UV index will be high, so load up on the sunscreen. You're going to need it, and beaches will see a high right around 82 degrees with a slight chance for a late day shower. Tides upcoming, low tide will be at 10:26 and a high at 4:23. Sunset 7:54 and sunrise again at 7:05. Tonight's forecast, partly cloudy skies and we'll have some clearing late. Low temperatures into the low 60s. It will be mild east winds at 5 to 10. Mostly sunny, high of 85 tomorrow, and east winds at 10 to 15. The extended forecast looks like this. We will see a nice weekend with lots of sunshine and temperatures into the mid-80s. Well, much more. Alan will be back with primetime headlines right after this.
Sarasota Magazine and PNC Wealth Management present the Best of Sarasota Soiree at Selby Gardens on April 24th.
It's an evening to sip, savor, and celebrate Sarasota Manatee's best of winners.
This year will be full of Warhol-inspired surprises, entertainment, and a tribute to those representing the best in our community.
Come join ABC7 for all the fun.
Get your tickets today at sarasotamagazine.com.
This is a special health alert for seniors suffering with joint pain. If you have Medicare insurance, you may qualify for high-quality support braces at little or no cost.
I'm thrilled with my knee braces.
Now, there is a simple and proven solution for seniors to get out of pain with state-of-the-art support braces.
I barely feel any pain at all.
Braces for your knees and back, as well as your shoulders and ankles, too.
I'm so happy with the quality of these braces.
Call now, and you could qualify for a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost.
I can play ball again, and it doesn't hurt.
And because of my Medicare coverage, it costs me next to nothing.
So call now.
And because I have this red, white, and blue Medicare card, my braces have cost me just about nothing.
It's true. You may get a knee, back, shoulder, and ankle brace at little or no cost.
They qualified me for 2 knee braces and a back brace.
If you have knee or back pain, give them a call. They can help.
1-800-476-8967. 1-800-476-8967.
You only have one life. Are you gambling with it? 1 in 3 adults have high blood pressure. Not knowing your numbers could cause you to lose, big time. Luckily, you can turn the odds in your favor by getting your blood pressure checked today. Don't leave your health to chance. Learn more at heart.org/HPV.
Let me introduce you to the ultimate Florida window. Do you feel safer with this or this? You'll be proud too.
This Saturday only, save 40% off factory direct windows. Bring in your measurements for on-the-spot pricing.
Now for your primetime headlines, Arkansas's Department of Corrections is in a race against the clock to put 7 inmates to death. Protesters are urging the governor to intervene. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez explains why this is happening.
What do you want? Mercy! Protests in Arkansas as the state prepares to put an unprecedented 7 inmates to death over the course of just 10 days.
We will have blood on our hands if the governor goes through with the executions.
The right thing must be done.
State officials say they've expedited the execution timeline because one of the 3 lethal injection drugs they plan to use is set to expire at the end of the month.
I don't want to go back to these victims' family and say, well, we're worried about how this looks or the speed of this, and so we're not going to be able to carry out the will of the jury and the courts in this sentencing.
But along with opposition to the death penalty, concerns are also being raised over the use of the drug that's nearing its expiration date. Midazolam is the same sedative that was used in several botched executions in other states.
The second and third drugs will cause unconscionable pain and torture unless the person is totally insensate to pain. And the problem is midazolam has a history of not performing that function.
2 drug manufacturers who claim the state obtained midazolam and one of the other lethal injection drugs from unauthorized sellers filed suit trying to block the executions. They are awaiting a ruling, with the first 2 convicted murderers scheduled to be put to death on Monday. And these will be the first inmates executed in Arkansas since 2005. Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, Los Angeles.
An update now on North Carolina's controversial bathroom bill. The Department of Justice is seeking to dismiss its lawsuit over the bill. It comes less than a month after a deal was reached to repeal the law. It required transgender people to use public restrooms that correspond to the gender on their birth certificates. A compromise prevents local governments from regulating bathroom use, leaving that to state lawmakers. But activists say it does not go far enough to protect transgender rights. A jury in Boston acquits former Patriots tight end Aaron Hernandez in a 2012 double murder. After 6 days of deliberations, the jury found Hernandez not guilty of first-degree murder in the deaths of Daniel de Abreu and Sofio Furtado. However, jurors are convicting him of a single charge, unlawful possession of a gun. The judge sentenced him to an additional 4 to 5 years in prison. The former NFL star wept quietly as the verdicts were read. Hernandez is already serving a life sentence for a 2013 murder. Here in Florida, the 2018 campaign for U.S. Senate has not officially begun, but it is clearly underway. Governor Rick Scott is preparing to face off against Democratic Senator Bill Nelson. This week, Scott is touting his relationship with the Trump administration, which is providing $1.5 billion in low-income pool funding to help Florida patients care for the poor and uninsured. Nelson is criticizing the governor for embracing the funding, but rejecting $5 billion for Medicaid expansion. Nelson has held his Senate seat since 2001, and he says he is ready for a fight.
In Florida, the third largest state, I take nothing for granted. I always run scared as a jackrabbit, like I'm behind, and I will continue to do so.
Scott's political committee has already raised nearly $4 million this year for his campaign. Next year, Florida state legislatures has 3 weeks left in the session. The House is finishing the week by passing a partisan change to the state's public retirement system. The bill would put employees hired after next July into a 401k plan instead of a traditional pension plan. Any current public employees who didn't actively elect for a pension would be switched to a 401k. Public employees include people working for the school district, county, and state agencies. In recent years, the Senate has rejected changes to the state pension plan. Meanwhile, the controversial Schools of Hope bill has passed the House. It would funnel $200 million towards charter schools and encourage them to open in areas with failing public schools. Republicans and Democrats are divided over the legislation.
If they want to continue going to their failing school, then they certainly can do that. But if they want an opportunity at success, which we know the best way to break generational poverty is through education, if they want that choice, well, we're going to give them that choice.
We may save some of those children, but I guarantee you, you won't save all of those children. So this is, in my opinion, the most kids left behind act.
So far, the Senate has not adopted the Schools of Hope legislation favoring more funding for public schools. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Have a great weekend.